Hello, everyone, and welcome to the weekly energy update for the week of October 29th, 2023. I'm Renee Spears, a spirit guide channeler and spiritual mentor, and I'm coming to you from a snowy Bozeman, Montana. Every Sunday, I share the energy for the week ahead, and I also infuse the show with some positive vibes, so you get a little positive energy boost just for listening. And welcome to an extra long podcast today. There's a lot going on with our energy this week, and I want to make sure I get it all in. So this podcast is going to be a little bit longer than usual. So sit back, relax, take some deep breaths, and give yourself a break and a chance to listen for a few minutes. Let's start with yesterday's lunar eclipse and full moon. If you've listened to the podcast for the last few weeks, you probably feel like an eclipse expert by now, but let's review. Eclipses are significant periods of change and transformation. And lunar eclipses help us complete a journey or shift the course of our lives in some way. This particular lunar eclipse brings a strong energy of closure to the last 2 years because it's the end of the Taurus-Scorpio eclipse cycle that we've been in the past 2 years. So whatever chapter of your life you've been in the last 2 years is now ending, and we're moving into a new chapter. I moved to Montana 2 years ago, and I'm now moving out of my Montana newlywed stage into the next chapter. A lunar eclipse is our opportunity to create change in our lives. This change may come about abruptly. You may find yourself feeling surprised or caught off guard by what's revealed. But not all of these surprises are negative. Some of them may be positive and bring you inspiration along with the encouragement you need to shift your life. And the changes and the shifts may not take place all at once. They may start on the eclipse, but we'll be working with the energy of this eclipse and full moon for the next month. And the changes may take even longer to fully materialize. Since this lunar eclipse is about endings, we can use this ending energy to end things that we are done with. If you want to stop smoking or eating sugar or spending so much time on your phone, this is the time to do it. It's just easier right now. This lunar eclipse is here to move us forward. It's a push from the cosmos to take you out of stagnant energies and old patterns. We want to consciously clean out the old. This is a perfect time to smudge. Open your windows and smudge your home to cleanse your space of old energies. Also a good time to purge. Get rid of old clothes or clean out your junk drawer and refrigerator. Clean out your inbox. This is out with the old, in with the new energy. It's also important to remember that not all transformation needs to be complicated. This eclipse is our chance to transform and shift old patterns into new ones. All you need to do is simply let go. Not because some significant event has occurred or someone is forcing you or you feel like you have no choice, but because you're choosing to. This is an opportunity to release things that no longer serve you without struggle or effort. Just let go the way a petal drops from a flower, because it's time. Feel the simplicity of this eclipse and let it shift your life away from chaos and into harmony. We can think of this as coming home to ourselves. Yeah, sometimes this change can feel disruptive, and you may even resist it initially, but there's no moving backward on the lunar eclipse. You can't fight the new knowledge. You can only take it in and ask yourself what you can create with it. So if you try to cling to the energies that no longer serve you, you'll feel frustrated and out of alignment. If this eclipse reveals something in your life that needs to be released, it's best just to find the least dramatic way to move on. Resist the urge to overcomplicate or overanalyze something. Lunar eclipses can be energetically and emotionally intense, and we feel it for a few days before and after. So give yourself some time to process what's revealed on the eclipse. There's no need to rush into any decisions. Just let the energy settle and then move forward. There's no hurry. There's plenty of time. Fortunately, because this lunar eclipse and full moon are in Taurus, it's more gentle and not as intense as some other eclipses have been. And this is the Hunter full moon. It's also known as the blood moon. And the name Hunter's Moon comes from a time of year when hunters, both human and animal, hunt and stock up before winter. And as I mentioned, it's in Taurus. And Taurus is the sign of stillness and stability. It helps restore our inner peace when the world has thrown us a curveball. Taurus is the energy we want when life feels overwhelming. Taurus helps us connect to nature. So get outside, feel the sun on your face, the ground under your feet, hug a tree, go for a hike. Nature helps us feel better, not just with the eclipse energies, but whenever we feel overwhelmed or we need some inner peace. And it's okay to take some mini breaks when you need to. Eclipses ask us to pause and appreciate where we are right now, and also the work we've done on ourselves to get here. This eclipse is all about finding stillness in the intense transformations of life. Now, you may have experienced some upheaval in your life. I have a lot of clients that have been fired, are moving, selling homes, or other big changes have happened in their life. Or you may be feeling changes starting to stir. The eclipse is a time to center yourself and feel your inner stillness and strength before moving forward. And then just a couple of days after the powerful eclipse, it's Halloween. Halloween is rooted in the Celtic festival of Samhain. For some Wiccans and modern pagans, Halloween or Samhain is considered one of the 8 Sabbats in their wheel of the year. These Sabbats celebrate nature's natural rhythms, and they mark the transition from one season to the next. And they help to add balance and harmony to our lives. Samhain marks the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter. And it celebrates and honors the changing of the seasons and our connection with the spiritual aspects of nature and the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. From a spiritual perspective, a seasonal connection to nature helps us feel more grounded and supported. We are animals after all. We're part of nature. The changing of the seasons, the alignment of the stars, and our connection to nature affect us more than we realize. So when we feel lost or alone or not in the flow or connected, it's often because we aren't connected to nature. Samhain and Halloween fall at the midpoint between the autumn equinox and the winter solstice, at a time when nature is undergoing a significant transformation, and so are we. The energy of Taurus during the full moon eclipse and this time of the year are both about connecting with nature. Mexico and South America celebrate this time as Day of the Dead, which is based on indigenous Aztec beliefs. Day of the Dead is observed in conjunction with All Saints' Day, which is the first, and All Souls' Day, which is the second, which are both Catholic feast days that commemorate the saints and the deceased. You know, I really didn't understand the importance of this midpoint between the equinox and the solstice before. But when I started preparing for this podcast and realized all the cultures that have celebrated it and observed it for centuries, it hit me how important this transformational time is to both our bodies and our souls. The primary spiritual purpose of Day of the Dead is to pay homage to deceased ancestors and family members. It's a way to keep their memory and their spirit alive. And this culture believes, just like the pagans and the Wiccans believe, that this is a time when the boundary or the veil between the living and the dead is thin, and the spirits of deceased return to visit their families. It's pretty easy actually to communicate with the other side. You can leave out offerings of their favorite foods, similar to like leaving out cookies for Santa. You could light a candle or have a bonfire and just simply talk to them. Tell them how much you miss and love them. And then look for signs that they've heard you. A sign could be hearing their favorite song, or their favorite food being the special at the restaurant when you go out to eat, or seeing something, anything that reminds you of them. Although this time is celebrated in different ways, maybe with carving pumpkins or having bonfires or setting of altars, there's no denying that however we honor it, it's an important transformational time for us. And then just like that, we move into November. So in numerology, each month is associated with a universal month number, which sets the tone and the energy for the month, and it gives us some insights into what we can expect that month. To calculate the universal month number for November 2023, we add the digits of the year together, which add up to 7. This is a 7 universal year. And then we add the individual digits of November, 1 plus 1, and all of these total 9. So November is a 9 universal month. 9 is associated with completion, transition, and spiritual growth. It's a time to tie up loose ends and prepare for new beginnings. Are you starting to see a pattern here in all this energy? So during a 9 universal month, it's common to feel the need to finish projects, end relationships, or bring closure to things we're done with. And as we release stuff, there's room for new things to enter. We're laying the groundwork for new beginnings that will come. A 9 universal month is the end of a 9-month cycle. November is wrapping up the cycle that we've been in since March. So let's take a minute to think back on what we've experienced since March. In March, we had all the planets direct, and we were rocking and rolling. Also in March, the 2 biggest transits of the year happened, and that's when Saturn moved into Pisces and Pluto went into Aquarius. These 2 transits were basically about surrender and transformation. And then throughout the summer, with 8 planets retrograde at the same time, we had no choice but to surrender. And talk about transformation. Holy shit, that's all we've been doing for the past 5 months. And then we top off all of this with 2 eclipses. The lunar eclipse we experienced was about endings, and now we get a 9-month also about endings to wrap up what we've gone through this year. Although the energy of the 9 universal month involves endings, it also is paving the way for new beginnings. By finishing up this chapter, we're creating space once again for fresh opportunities and new experiences that are coming. So if you want a fresh start, which I think all of us do right now, you gotta let go. This is a month for taking stock of your life and doing some soul searching to assess what changes are needed. Those changes could be your thought patterns. It could include some relationships that have come to a natural conclusion. It could be getting your finances in order, getting a budget, setting some financial goals. It may also be taking better care of your health and your well-being, especially during this transformative period. And remember, change doesn't have to be hard. We can use this energy to make changes without struggle. It's just easier to change right now. The first transit we have in November is Saturn going direct on the 4th. Saturn has been retrograde since June, and now it's turning around and moving forward again. But here's the thing. Saturn can be a slow energy. So although the lunar eclipse ended a 2-year cycle and November is a 9-month and wrapping up this year's cycle, we're not racing towards the new thing yet. We need patience right now. So you may feel stuck or unsure of how to move forward. But this feeling of stuckness is only because we need to give ourselves time. If you feel stuck, it's because you are meant to be focusing on where you currently are. Saturn remains in its shadow until early February of next year. So you may be going over old ground, but that's okay. Saturn very rarely calls for speed. So you're better off just taking your time and getting it right. The great news is that since Saturn's return started in June, we've been doing a lot of internal work and we've gained clarity in trusting our spidey sense and our intuition. Now that Saturn is moving forward, we're working at a higher consciousness. Because we've expanded and mastered our intuitive gifts, we're operating with more ease and flow now. So think of November as a soft month. Give yourself time. Give yourself grace. Practice living with more ease and flow, just like nature does. It's time to tell your past goodbye and say hello to your future. As you can tell, this is an important time. There's a lot of transformation happening, both internally and externally in our lives. So if you need some clarity and extra support during all of this, you are in luck because my eclipse sale is still going on for only 2 more days. You get 2 30-minute sessions with me and your spirit guides for only $111. This is a perfect way to support yourself for the rest of the year. And I'll put a link to the sale in the show notes, or you can go to my website, Abundology.com. I appreciate your extra time listening today. Hopefully you got something out of it. Also, thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing this podcast with a friend who may find value in it. It's a chilly, snowy day here in Montana, and I'm spending the day in my flannel cowgirl pajamas. So have a happy Halloween, Samhain, or Day of the Dead, whatever you may celebrate, and I will talk to you again next week.